Let's get started. Starting, as you guys know, is always the hardest part, though finishing a project is also equally difficult in many ways. It's the middle part that's the easiest part. It's always hardest to start and to finish, but let's get started tonight. So Shabbat Shalom, everybody. My name is noelhadley. You guys know that, especially if you've been in this for 3 weeks now. If you figure you know where we're at. We are reading through the Book of Britain. As a quick reminder for everybody, if you don't know the context of this, the Book of Britain is a mysterious read that originates from Great Britain, obviously, and it is associated with the teachings of Joseph of Arimathea. So, quick history lesson here: the Druids. We went over in Acts 29, where the missing chapter of Acts. It's not in most of your Bibles. If you own the Sefer, it is in there. And Paul goes from Rome. He goes to Spain. He goes up to Britain. He swings around to Switzerland, goes back to Rome. And when he's in Britain, he meets the Druids. And the Druids actually embrace the faith of Yahushua Mashiach. They were the first to do so, really the first nation in history to do so as a whole. And the Druids tell Paul that they are actually the Yahudim and that they came from Egypt. And I don't really know if they're referring to the Exodus, but I'm actually under the impression that they came up from Egypt with Baruch and Yirmiyahu, that'd be Jeremiah, with the fall of Judah under the Babylonians. They went over to Egypt and they went north. They grabbed Tepi, the princess of Judah. They went up, she got married in Spain, probably. They went up to Ireland and Britain, and that's how the Druids got their start, according to Acts 29. So here we have in the Book of Britain, Joseph of Arimathea. He's going over with his entourage, his crew, his sons, and we discuss how he's very likely, the tradition holds he's the great uncle of Yahushua Mashiach, but we were discussing in here how there seems to be a lot of likelihood that he's actually Yahusha's grandfather, which I actually really like that idea. I think that's a great concept. And he interacted. He went up against the Druids, gave them the faith, and they actually will refer to him in this book as the father of their faith, Joseph of Ramah or Joseph of Arimathea. We left off on, the consensus is that we left off on chapter 7. So let's get right to this tonight. And I guess you pronounce that the Korigorseed, or the Korigorseed. I'll try not to butcher too many words tonight. To you, Nathaniel, son of my brother Will Smith, and to Andrew, you got to love it. Will Smith was in ancient Britain. And to Andrew, his half-brother, I leave 2 books of integrity and others in portions. The bare words are unimportant, but what they convey is as jewels and a crown of gold. Yet even this is not the crown itself, which should be sought in the Carnamard at Nats Ladewin. And I mentioned before that a lot of these places, they just don't seem to exist anymore. They have all new names and so on and so forth. I am not an unlettered man, but I lack the virtue of subtleness in writing of things best hidden. Inasmuch as the ferocious blood seekers close in upon us, and Christian folk do in their zeal deem it fit to claim for their own persons of innocent blood, persecuting them with ratchet, rope, and brand even into death, I charge you, my assigns, to protect the several holy books, even until your death, believing full well that evil cannot triumph over good, and the dark days of fear-born hatred will pass. Keep them secure under the most sacred oaths now forsworn. Now, I'm not sure what these several holy books are he's referring to. They very likely could be this one in Book of Wisdom, which we're reading, and some of the others in Colburn. There's several. There's kind of like in Colburn, there's the Old Testament portions that take place in Egypt and the whereabouts, and then there's the what we would call like the New Testament portions, which deal with the teachings of Joseph of Arimathea and the like. The said holy books, of themselves innocent, fill the base hearts of our enemies with craven fear, even as the lamp-bearing lackey causes scuttling among the rats in the larder. What dire secret do they hide, closeted within their breast, occasioning such terror that limbs quake when innocent wisdom is mentioned in their presence? In all the land no place remains comfortable, and the free-spirited are as hares hunted by whippets, running into the tail-bearing wind. And they bring up hares a lot in here. If you guys remember, he actually equated hares to a creature that can actually connect with the spiritual world. And they say, every time you see a hair, it's not without purpose. Before the doomsmen come, we made our peace and can await our call to sacrifice and patience. What's happening right now is the land of Britain is under attack by some, pagans from the Northeast. And I'm not sure on the people groups here, but that appears to be happening. The jewels are safely hidden. These things which follow are found in the book of recitals. There are 3 adornments of life: love, truth, and beauty. There are 3 things of which God is the source: life, wisdom, and power. Now, right there, that's interesting because you got wisdom. You have the life is the son, Yahushua HaMashiach. Wisdom is the mother, the Ruach HaKodesh, and power is the father. You have you guys know I'm not a Trinitarian, but you have a Trinity right there: life, wisdom, and power. There are 3 things which men must get from living: the greatest benefit, the greatest knowledge, and the greatest experience. So right there you have the son, the mother, and the father repeated. The greatest benefit is the son, the greatest knowledge is the mother, and the greatest experience is the power. There are 3 causes in which it is fitting that men should risk their lives: in establishing truth, in upholding justice, and in seeking liberty. There are 3 paramount qualities to which all else should be subordinate: love, truth, and good. There are 3 things men should place above themselves: their faith, their race, and humankind. So right there, you see, we've talked about in this book how this book is describing how the days we live in is a direct confrontation and attack on the values placed in this book. So this book places high value on your race, right? This is not globalism. This isn't, we blend all people groups together. But you see right after that, now that would be, oh, that's racist, right? But then right after that, you see humankind is also to be placed above themselves. So even though your race and your heritage and your homeland is to be fought for and preserved, your culture, you're still placing, it doesn't mean you subdue other nations. No, all of humankind is still placed above yourself, right? That's the value. So we respect all of mankind, all cultures. We don't tread on other cultures, like, the American imperialism today on, the Middle East and so on and so forth, and really all the countries of the world. There are 3 things a man should value above his life and possessions: his family, his honor, his reputation. There are 3 principles of government. This should be good: effective security of life and person, security of possessions and dwelling, and security of personal rights. If we make it to Book of Wisdom tonight, the first chapter is all about these 3 things right here. There are 3 things a government must hold inviolate: a man's family, his dignity, and his opinion. How does this not ring true to like the news right now that our governments, I'm assuming we're talking here, if you're an American government, though the other governments might do the same thing. They are attacking our family. They're trying to break up our family. They're trying to attack our dignity and certainly our opinions, right? It's a war against the freedom of speech right now. There are 3 things the government must provide: education, justice, and safety. So that right there, this is assuming the government is not a propaganda government, right? I mean, this is like a very virtuous government that providing education, because I don't like the education that our government is giving to our children right now, but I can definitely agree under these standards. There are 3 pillars of the state: the questing scholar, the diligent craftsman, and the incorruptible official. None of this rings true to today at all. There are 3 unities: one God, one truth, and one creation. There are 3 things for which the earth exists. This is mind-blowing, guys. I fully agree with this right here: the development of souls, the fulfillment of the destiny of man, and the manifestation of life. Okay, so this book and these books at Colburn, they're all about the purpose of the earth is to chastise us. The idea is that the earth was created perfectly. That includes its weather, its snow, it's arid and it's dry temperature, deserts, and it's forest, and it's mudslides, and it's ocean, and it's everything, right? It was created perfectly. And if you look at the world and you think this is all like it's not acting as it should, it's because you're not realizing the purpose of our being here. It's to be the earth itself. Mother Earth is actually forming us and changing us and refining us and testing us to see if we are worthy of what? Well, the fulfillment of the destiny of man. What is the fulfillment of the destiny of man? Recognizing that we are pre-existent souls who were the sons of Elohim, that we fell from our state, that we rebelled at a former time. As Yahushua HaMashiach says in the books of the Nazarene, that we became bastard sons of Elohim, and that we are here to reclaim our status as sons of Elohim. And of course, we are here for the manifestation of life, to create life so that others can come down and be given the same test, right? The purpose of life is to live and to be tested and see if we can overcome the challenges and return to our former state. And in order to do that, we have to be able to look within ourselves. And instead of, casting the blame on other people, we need to look at ourselves and see if we, how far have we fallen? How worthy are we? Do we have a circumcised heart? There are three things man must give to life: beauty, stability, and harmony. There are three things women must give to life: love, goodness, and compassion. There are three things only God can do: constantly renew himself in the infinite circle of eternity, remain unchanging while impregnating every state of changeability. That's an interesting concept right there. We know that he's unchanging. The Bible tells us, he's the Yahushua HaMashiach is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And the Most High doesn't change. But it's interesting that even though he is unchanging, he is the cause and effect of change, right? That's a really interesting concept when you really think about that. And encompass everything existing. And, we see that in here where earlier we read comments where Yahushua said that, that the Most High, he's really like, he's a part of everything, that you chop open a piece of wood and he's there. The idea is that all material things are ultimately energy, and that energy originates from the rays of light, the energy of the Creator, right? So all things emanate and come from him, including our own flesh and of course, our spirit and our soul. There are three things required of men: the ability to change that which is changeable, to accept that which is unchangeable, and to know the difference. Let me read that again. These things, it says, are required of men: the ability to change that which is changeable. So there are some things in life that we are here to change for the better, right? Not for the worse. To accept the things which are unchangeable, the things that are beyond our control, out of our hands, nothing we can do about it. And of course, to know the difference between the two. There are three virtues of maidenhood: prudence, modesty, and decorum. I like that word, decorum. It's a really pretty word. There are three virtues of wifehood: faithfulness, industriousness, and motherliness. There are three great graces: faith, hope, and love. There are three things to know about God. He must be sought for. He cannot be given anything by man which increases his greatness, and he dwells within his own law. I love that last line, right? The law of Elohim, the law of the Most High. And we know what that law is. It's the Torah. There are three rights of man: freedom to move, to enjoy privacy, and to speak his mind. So the government, of course, our government is at war with all these things too, right? We've just seen this through the lockdowns. Right now, as we read this, we are being told that there might be lockdowns in the coming weeks, right? So our freedom to move is being attacked and violated. To enjoy privacy, we know we're being recorded, we're being watched. I mean, it's like, do we even have privacy anymore? I'd say no. And to speak his mind, that's under constant attack as well, with the woke crowd, with the government, all sorts of stuff. There are three things God requires of man: effort, courage, and reverence for the sacred. There are three duties of women: to reproduce the race, inspire mankind, and beautify life. And I think they talk about this in the Book of Wisdom. We might read tonight about the duties of a wife, a woman, her role is to actually inspire her husband to be a better man. And that's that's an incredible thought. There are three duties of man: to protect the race, strive for progress, and elevate humankind. There are three things which distort the soul: malice, deceits, and sensuality. And this is important because they'll be giving a very controversial statement coming up. Some of you will be like, that's it, I'm done. But just to note here, and we went over this last week, where they talk about how sensuality is actually, we need to recognize the difference between the needs of our body. There are, like, say, sexual needs. Our body has sexual needs. I mean, that's nature. That's the way Yah designed it. But then there is also the needs of our soul, and that the needs of our body, if we tip too far into that area, it dampens actually our soul, right? It kind of darkens it and closes it up. And so that's what they say right here. Sensuality, giving yourself over to that, actually distorts the soul. There are three rules which govern a man's relationships with others: what he requires in another, what he forbids in another, and what he regards with indifference as being entirely the concern of another. There are three things which shatter a man's life: an unfaithful wife, invasion by foreigners, and a crippling disease. There are three principles of greatness: obedience to the law, concern for the welfare of the community, and the ability to suffer with fortitude all the blows of fate. There are three states of being: that of God in the great circle, that of the spirit in the outer circle, and that of matter in the inner circle. Now, so obviously, okay, so it's almost like like an orb. Maybe you can think of it like that. I know we think of it like a flat earth with a firmament, but this circle they're talking about, you see this a lot in the ancient world, where you'll see like a king or something, he's holding an orb, and they'll put like a cross on top of it or something like that. But the idea is that, that the furthest reaches, of course, that's the existence of Elohim, the Most High, and that all, when you get to the inner circle, right, that's where we're at. This is the world of the material realm. And so as further as you send up, of course, you go through that. Now, I'm a little bit not sure what they're all talking about, the spirit in the outer circle. They have mentioned this earlier. I don't know if they mean the Ruach HaKodesh in this, but this is something you do see in the in Genesis and other places, where it's not the Father coming down, but it's the Ruach HaKodesh coming down, hovering over the waters, blowing on them, drying them after Noah's flood, so on and so forth. We see the spirit of Elohim constantly coming down. So I'm thinking that that's the worldview here. These are the three duties of parenthood: to protect, to cherish, and to educate the child. And of course, I would say, if you're sending, politely, every parent needs, I'm not judging any parent, but if I were to send my children to a government school as they stand today, I would feel like I'm not protecting my child. They need to be protected at all costs. There are three duties of a child towards his parents: obedience, respect, and loyalty. Unfortunately, a lot of us probably learn that later in life, not when we were children. There are three qualities of a husband: consideration, protectiveness, and care. So right there, protectiveness is a given, right? We need to protect our wives, but I like the word consideration there. Of course, you're caring for your wife, right? You're caring for their physical needs, but the idea of consideration is something that, a lot of women, obviously, they need, right? Because they feel like, because their husband is the protector and the authority, and the head of the house, they might not feel like they have a voice, right? Like their opinions matter, their emotions matter. And so it's saying, like, husbands, you need to consider all these things. You're protective of their emotions and their opinions and their thoughts, and you need to cherish those things and make them feel like they have the freedom to, express those things. There are three essentials of manhood: courage, fortitude, and honor. There are three qualities of womanhood: loyalty, decency, and gentleness. There are three jewels of womanhood: modesty, decorum, and circumspection. And again, like the attack on women, I mean, the attack on men, obviously, right? The, effeminate men who don't protect their families, aren't husbands, aren't fathers, right? We see this attack everywhere. But the same thing, the attack on women, right? Because we flipped it now. We're like, women's live, and how women, they don't need man, they don't need love, they're their own, the master of their own domain type of thing. And so we don't see the loyalty to their husbands. We don't see decency. I mean, oh my goodness, like, guys, like, we spend every year, this will be our 9th year, I think, ending our year in Florida. We go down there, we stay on the beach, we in a fifth wheel, we camp on the beach for 3 months. And I'm going to be working every day in my window looking at the beach. And frankly, like, I probably even should be saying this live, but I'm going to be so sick every single day of seeing butt. It's just like, oh, look, there's more butt walking by, because there's just women, just wearing these thongs going down the beach, and it's like, there's just no decency anymore. Like, it's completely out the window. There's no, like, they don't even have an understanding of what it is to, dress in such a way as to be a genteel, to have a decorum. I like that word. I might use that a lot tonight, decorum. There are 3 prime qualities of the real man: the ability to maintain self-control. And this would, of course, be a spiritual issue with his soul, connecting with his soul and finding that self-control from within. The ability to remain calm under stress and provocation. Side note, that was my mission this last week, to remain calm under stress and provocation. I hope I pulled it off. And the ability, in every fiber of my being, I was trying to, and the ability to not stand too rigidly upon his rights. There are 3 things. So basically, if you have these rights, the government has bestowed upon you these rights, don't just, be like, well, good, I can do whatever I want now. It's like, no. Like, no, you have responsibilities. All right. Don't stand too rigidly upon your rights, or don't take them for granted. Even the opposite. There are 3 things in men that other men hate: saying one thing with the mouth while holding something quite different in the heart. Say what you mean and be truthful and honest without holding evidence in favor of another in the determent of another. And that's pure Torah right there. Do not give false testimony in any way, shape, or form against anyone. And spreading scandal and gossip. There are 3 things that hold the state in cohesion: effective protection for everyone and their property, just punishment when due, and a proper blend of punishment and mercy. There are 3 obligations of men in war: to kill and not be killed. That seems pretty straightforward right there, right? To destroy the enemy and his possessions, and to survive the onslaught. There are 3 types of persons who cannot bear arms: a bondsman, a boy under 15, and I love this line, and a public idiot. This book is so good. I hope you guys are enjoying this. There are 3 kinds of stone, of which removal is death: a counsel stone, a session stone, and a guide stone. There are 3 things, the punishment for which shall be greater than a simple death: killing a kinsman, killing a child or a virgin, and killing an idiot. So if you're going to kill someone, don't kill an idiot. Just let the idiots be to themselves. There are 3 things for which the trumpet sounds 3 times: the counting of heads and numbering of families, the horns of harvest, and the horns of war. There are 3 persons. Oh, I just lost my place. Here we are. There are 3 persons who can demand hospitality: the traveler from afar, the afflicted or orphan, and the bard. The book of oh man, what book is it right now? The Didache. The Didache actually talks about this too. It talks about, who you bring into your household, but it specifically says that if they're like a teacher or a prophet or anything like that, that they don't stay. I think it's like 2 or 3 days. They can't stay at your house more than 2 or 3 days. That they need to move on. There are 3 groups entitled to freedom of movement and maintenance: chiefs of tribes and their retinue, Druids and their followers, and judges and the retainers of their courts. There are 3 types who can claim citizenship: those who bring new land under cultivation, those who work with metals, and those who bear arms. So, so kind of, I guess if you were a foreign citizen and you went and you fought in the army for a certain country, you should be able to be claimed citizenship if you fulfill your duties. We see similar things in like with official history, with the American Revolution. If you guys remember, Washington put out the proclamation that any slaves who fight for the cause of the revolution will be freedmen. Afterwards, they'll be citizens. Actually, they might not have been citizens, but they were freedmen. I have to check, fact check that, I guess. There are three basic protections: protection of life and person, protection of possessions and dwelling, and protection of natural privileges. There are three types of persons who forfeit life: one who betrays his country, race, or kindred; one who kills another through viciousness, lust, or gain; and one who injures a child for life. There are three things which are indivisible and unchangeable: the supreme being, truth, and reality. Well, it seems, honestly, it feels like a lot of reality or perceived reality has been changing as of late. It has been corrupted. We can discuss that, but obviously, truth is eternal, it doesn't change, right? That there is a law of the supreme being, the Most High, that never changes. His character never changes. There is one God, one truth, and one reality. There are three necessities of man. Oh, and by the way, this reality, I guess I could argue why reality never changes. True reality is that reality emanates from what they would call the outer circle, right? That it all comes from the Most High, from Elohim, from God, and it comes out, it materializes through his energy, and so in that way it never changes. However, I would argue that there are some elements of our reality that are changing before us, they're being corrupted below here. There are three necessities of man: change, suffering, and choice. There are three tests to determine a free man: he has equal rights with every other man; he has no more obligation to the government than it has to him; and he has freedom to come and go. Wait, let me read that one more time. Some of these I need to repeat again. That was so good. So, three tests to determine a free man. Okay, so let's test to see if we are free today. He has equal rights with every other man. He has no more obligation to the government than it has to him. Well, that's not true. And he has freedom to come and go. And of course, that has been heavily tested and tried and under attack as of late. There are three things essential to united nationhood: the same language, same rights for all, and the same race. There are three things which are private, untouchable, and sacred to every man: his wife, his children, and his tools of trade. I like that. That was a good one. There are three persons in the family exempt from menial or heavy work: the small child, the aged man or woman, and the sick and afflicted. There are three civil birthrights: the right to free movement, the right of protection for family, possessions, and liberty, and the right to equality in privilege and restriction. There are three requirements for social stability: security of life and limb, security of family and possessions, and security of traditions and culture. There are three foundations of the nation: national solidarity, national courage, and national pride. There are three things a man can legally be compelled to do: fulfill his family obligations, attend a law court, and serve in the military in times of national peril. I really like, particularly that first quote there, that a man is legally compelled to fulfill his family obligations. And man, that is like, we've really dropped the ball on that one. There are three things for which a man can be called a traitor: aiding the enemy, meekly submitting to an enemy, and betraying his race. There are three things no law can deny: water from a spring, river or lake, wood from a decayed or naturally fallen tree branch, and unused stone. So yeah, we should have the rights to the water, is what they're saying. And there, of course, there's some states, like I think, like I don't even know, honestly, what the state laws here are in South Carolina. I know there's some states where it's illegal to even collect rainwater. And it's like, really, the government, you own the rain too? There are three forms of sonship: a son born within a marriage, a son born outside of marriage but publicly acknowledged by the father, and a son by adoption. So if the man has a mistress, concubine, whatever, she has a child, he recognizes that as his son. That is not a bastard son. That is his legal son. He is sonship. There are three types of thieves not to be punished: a woman compelled to steal by her father or husband. That's kind of interesting. You know, it's the father and husband who are ultimately to blame, not the woman who is under their authority. A young child and a starving person who steal to eat. Yahushua HaMashiach actually talked about that in the books of the Nazarene. He actually turned the tables and he's like, look, if this starving person is stealing from you to eat, what's your problem? Like, why are they starving? Why aren't you feeding them? Why are you getting him in trouble for stealing something when you should be out there feeding him? So that's kind of a very different way to look at it. There are three things which must remain open and free to all: rivers, roads, and places of worship. Ooh, did the places of worship not get closed on us up 2 or 3 years ago? It is said that Alfred the Homeborn rewrote these things, but it is also said that what was is lost, and he put this in. All right. And so, as you can see, there, there's been many cycles of writing this book. 8, nobility. Is this the last chapter? It might be. If there's a 9th one, that's fine. But we got 10 pages left. We'll get through it tonight. This is awesome. 8, nobility. Nobility and honor are words much abused, but in truth, nobility is not bestowed by birthright, but resides in the soul. How freeing is that, right? I mean, they're talking about, we talk about, in history, there was the nobility, right? That the kings and stuff. It's like, no. This isn't a birthright thing. It's not something you were born into. It resides in your soul. It's for nobility is within all of us. And honor is not a thing bartered among kings, but comes from a sense of goodness, the sense of goodness that can be found in all mankind. Men sell their honor for gold, and nobility is conferred on those who have done nothing more than their duty. This is wrong. When titles are given as a reward of true selfless service, when he who serves his fellows well is ennobled, both giver and receiver are raised in stature, and the realm benefits. When they who inherit titles also inherit the virtues which earn these, then all is well. But when he who inherits to whom they descend is unlike he who earned them, they can no longer be born with honor. Honor and nobility in their true sense are not things which can inevitably be inherited. They are not in the blood. So again, this is something for everybody. The most lowly peasants can find within himself honor and nobility and live that sort of life. The man who, being without merit himself, appeals to the actions of his ancestors for his justification is like a thief claiming justification in possession. So they're saying, I don't care what your family tree is. I don't care who your granddaddy is. It's like you're actually, if you're claiming nobility or certain morality based on that, and you're actually a very immoral person, you're actually a thief. You're actually stealing from this person who you're claiming to inherit it from. What good is it to the blind that his parents could see? Or what benefit to the deaf that his grandfather heard? Is this more foolish than that a mean-hearted man should claim nobility because his forebears were noble? He's like, look, you're a blind dude. You're blind. Like your grandfather or whatever could see. Like don't claim. They're talking spiritually blind here or whatever. I'm morally blind. Like don't claim. His eyesight. A man who serves the people well has no need of ancestors. However true is that for us in the post mudflood generation, as we really question what is our ancestry, right? The noble mind does not derive pleasure in receiving honors, but in deserving them. Is it not better that men say, why has this man not been honored by the king, than to ask why he has been? Ouch. Right? So like all these people that have been honored and shouldn't have, right? And it's like they're saying it's better that you were not honored and than to be falsely honored. I speak to knights who surely of all men are the most noble. Eat slowly and with good manners, even if alone at the table. Do not gulp down ale or water, for food hastily eaten sits on an uncomfortable stomach. Though we must feed our bodies, even as animals have to, we are not as they and must do so with good manners. This is for all you knights of the realm out there. This is also a knightly discipline which will enhance the lights of your soul. This soul has an inner stronghold, an unassailable keep, which remains impregnable against all outside influences. It is an inner zone of silence, so that even in the most crowded street, amid the din of commerce, the hustle and hassle of everyday life, and joy, sorrow, success, and failure, there is always an inner sanctuary, a place of retirement, a retreat to which one can always retire, assured that no intruder can assail anyone there. This is the citadel of the soul, against which all the tempests and turmoils of life's storms may beat in vain. And this is why we need such a healthy soul, to be in tune with our soul. Within all will be serene, peaceful, and secure. And if it is well built, nothing can ever overthrow it. Loyalty is an attribute of the knightly man. It is expressed in deed and service. Be audacious in confrontation. It is a bold mouse that pulls the cat's whiskers. That's such a good line. Be renowned for what you achieve, not for what you are. The renown of a bowman is not earned by his bow, but by his aim. So there, it's like, you don't think of yourself as the bow, right? Don't take pride in being the bow. Take pride in the target, the aim, right? Your shot, your work, achieving at your work. Do the best you can. That's the attribute of a truly true knight, right? Those who seek to shun the battle of life because of cowardice or selfishness find that their attempts to run away are in vain, for the law compels them to engage. Because human destiny, individual and collective, is bound to the rock of the law, that which is avoided is enforced. I come before the dire days to carry a sword against evil which threaten our race, and to direct the struggle of man into correct channels. Be true to yourself and answer according to your own inner knowledge. Are your God-given qualities, which all possess, marshal to carry out the designs of God? That's right there. I mean, there's so many parables on that, right? Like the talents, right? Elohim gives us all talents, and we all have these. And Yahusha said that earlier in the book. He's like, look, whatever your gift is, whatever your talent is, live that out. Okay, don't try to be someone you're not. Live that out, but it has to be directed for the empowerment of the kingdom of Elohim, and not for your own kingdom, right? The rallying call has sounded, and it echoes in every responsive heart. Arm yourself for the fray with the God-given powers within. Align them to fight on the side of good. The call has gone out, and the inner forces of every real man are required to rally to the cause of humankind. If everyone in the world would rally their own special forces within and throw these into the battle on the side of good, the earth would overflow with goodness. Men and women are apathetic. Instead of taking up the sword against evil, they stand aside like menials. So evil grows, and the main cause of the present sorry state of the people is man's lack of fighting spirit. In war, it is the cause that counts, and it is not enough to resist evil. It must be attacked. When you have conquered the weakness within yourself and assumed full control, you are a true knight, ready to go out and fight. And of course, one of the sayings with, knights is, the search for the Holy Grail is to know yourself, right? And that's the true quest. The trumpet has sounded and the rallying cry rings out. So do not seek the place of protection. Do not hesitate in this traumatic hour. Say not that these things foreshadow things in days far ahead, or that they are residue from the past. Cease all disagreement among yourselves. Unite as comrades in arms. There will, of course, be arguments and differences, but be men enough not to let them divide you. We are in our present sorry state because of past disunity and disobedience to the law. So, wow, that just rings so true. I mean, we are in our state, guys, today because of transgressions of the law, rebellion, disobedience to the law, to the Torah, right? We are in the diaspora today. However you slice and dice it, we are in the diaspora. And then what do we see happening? We are in disunity with our brothers, right? We are constantly nitpicking and finding ways to separate and sever. And that's how the enemy divides us, right? And wins, which causes us not to take up arms, not to fight in unity, that kind of stuff. Do not allow the knights of right to be disarmed and fight against the realm of darkness. It is a manifesting. So it's really interesting here, guys, how they're like talking about like these physical knights. Like I'm getting something very physical in all this because they're talking about your family life and, picking up actual swords and stuff like that. But they're talking about the realm of darkness. It is a manifesting that kingdoms divide against themselves are destroyed by more united forces. Yet it is not the kingdom of God divided. Yet is not the kingdom of God divided against itself? Truth and faith are the handmaidens of love. They bring confidence. And how can a man stand steadfast unless he has confidence? For in confidence is strength. The qualities of knighthood are such that those who have them can look the world in the eye. They have no furtive deeds to hide within, where they eat away at night's integrity. Praise no day until nightfall, no wife until she is buried, no sword until bloodied, no maid until married, and no ale until drunk. Never be a talebearer, for this is despicable in a man. Persons who within themselves are really enemies often come garbed as friends. Pay attention to this one. And among these are the following. He who takes little care to hide his intentions to rob or violate and does it brazen-faced. He who gives a little with the intention of getting much back in return. He who puts on a friendly front out of fear, and he who acts friendly to serve his own ends. The man with the well-greased, mobile tongue can be distinguished in this manner. He is inclined to talk much about himself and his past accomplishments, or he will fill your ears with boast about his future deeds. He assails your ears with empty words and with the sweet draughts of flattery. Walk warily, for these are false-fronted friends, and when their friendship is put to the test, it falls apart like rotten wood. When called upon for assistance in time of need, they plead their own misfortunes and handicaps as excuses for standing aside. The smooth-tongued hypocrite glosses over the misdeeds of others. He excuses unworthiness and sings your praises before your face, in your hearing, but reviles you behind your back. Avoid all such as these, for their friendship is worthless. There's so much of this going on online in all the different ministries. This happens time and again. Like there's a repeated pattern I found just talking to others as well in different ministries, that like the people who are about to go out and do hit pieces and attack them publicly, like there's these trends where they are smooth talking to you right beforehand. They come up to you and they act like they're your friend and they say sweet things to you, and then boom, they get you below the belt. The other to avoid is the wastrel. I should have looked up the meaning of that word beforehand. I apologize. I don't know what a wastrel is, but let's find out. He will be a pleasant companion in the drinking parlors. He will be your amiable companion in the places of pleasure, where there is gaiety and laughter. He will be a charming companion at feasts and festivals. He will be quick to suggest gambling and dissipation and all things that lead to sloth. Okay, I guess that's a wastrel. I have heard that word before. That's kind of ringing a bell now. I felt like it sounds like a word from like an old Christmas carol, Here are the earmarks of a true-hearted friend. He will help you when help is really needed and requires real sacrifice on his part. He remains unchanged amidst the fluctuations of fortune. So he goes from poor to rich, and he's not like, he's the same guy you knew when he had nothing, right? He is the one who is not afraid to tell you what is for your own good. And of course, a lot of, people who are masked, false friends. They will just say things that just, aren't true, right? And, who are the people around you who are actually trying to speak into your life and tell you the things you may not want to hear, but they do it because they love you, right? And mostly those people get shunned, but those are the people that we really should be listening to, not the people telling us what we want to hear. He is the one who declares his friendship and loyalty in the company of those who condemn you. And of course, loyalty is not a virtue today at all. Very few loyal people. True friends are few and are treasures indeed. A true friend watches over you when you falter on the way, right? They don't watch you like falter and like, that's it, we're going to new YouTube video right here. Let's go track, take this guy. We saw him stumble. We're going to go take this guy out. He keeps a watchful eye on your property and interest when you are indisposed. He is your refuge in times when you are in fear and your consolation in distress. He is your reassurance in doubt. He never deserts you in need. A true friend tells you his secrets and never under any circumstances reveals yours. So you can confide in him and you know that he's not going to reveal your secrets. He never forsakes you in times of trouble and would sacrifice almost anything for you. In earthly armies, rules and commands must be obeyed. There is no other way to conduct a campaign. It is so in the army of good. Each and every man can rise by his own efforts and perseverance. Be as ready to take orders as to give them, for no man has the qualities of leadership who cannot also obey. Maybe a good indicator if you're not a leader is, are people following you, right? And I love that. I mean, just like, are you able to obey others? Are you able to play by the rules, right? You're not going into other groups and just like, nobody, you can't handle the truth. I'm just going to act in a certain way. And, I'm just being persecuted right now. It's like, okay, clearly you're not a leader. You can't even, obey the house rules, right? You can't, you're coming in and in contempt of other ministries, right? So it's the same thing here. All soldiers in the holy army, so we're talking about the holy army of the Most High here, must be well disciplined. How otherwise can the battle be won? If we falter in this, the infidel and heretic will prevail, and the long, weary journey be abortive. Be ever loyal to your comrades placed in authority. Trust them and change only when, by direct and personal contact and knowledge, you find them false and wanting. True friendship is the greatest of all gifts. In the courts and castles of the land, women, as apart from ladies, because of their physical weakness, have been made to appear of lesser importance. But a true knight, while honoring ladyhood, treats all women with respect and chivalry. It is chivalry which distinguishes our times from all others. But I need a cup of coffee here real quick while I think about that. Excuse me. A true knight is decorous at all times and circumspect in the presence of womenfolk, for he honors the delicacy of their ways. So, don't be crude around the ladies. Treat them as with dignity, and decorum, right? We got to put that in. Treat women with decorum. Always, however, womanliness is required to respond to and foster the chivalry in men. A mannish-mannered woman is the declared enemy of chivalry. A knight embodies the criteria for manhood. He concentrates on mannish things and mannish ways. He does not meddle in the affairs of womankind. A true lady is a rare and lovely jewel. What the word lady means is hard to define, but one meaning is that a lady is a woman in whose private presence a man acts with, there it is again, decorum and reserve. He shields her from crudity and lewdness. And I think that what that's saying here is that, and this is something for like husbands to think about with your wives, that, men, like even with movies, all right, if we want to bring movies into this, men and women process things differently. And I think men are able to, think about, like, we think about like war scenarios and, killing and, defending the homeland, things like that, right? Like things they're talking about here. These are things that, we think about, and we, weapons and all that kind of stuff. And sometimes some of these things they're not for women, right? And they could be insulting and that kind of stuff. And it's like saying, look, just treat them with that respect of womanhood and protect that. And there's something that's, men, they maybe will do amongst other men, like act stupid and you know what I'm saying? Like, play war games or whatever it is they're doing. And just, let a woman be a woman. All right. So shield her from that. A night under, think of like the old movies, like the Westerns, and men, they're like, there's a woman present, so you don't say crude language, that kind of stuff. A knight understands the economy of life. It is too easy, too long for a certain conclusion, perhaps that the suffering of a loved one will end. However, it may be a case where where only endurance and fortitude will heal and benefit the spirit. Pain purifies and strengthens, and sometimes it is better to suffer than to sleep. True knighthood demands not only nobility of spirit, but also nobility in attire and manners. It is an attitude towards others. The duties of man to man are almost as important as those of man to God. Well, of course, the man to God is more important, right? But they're saying it's almost as important, but not as important. Where the obligations entail the stewardship of God's earthly estate. Man chooses as he will, and it is entirely up to him whether or not he does a thing. Of what benefit is a high position to a man who uses the power he has over the lives of others only for the purposes of boosting his own arrogance and false pride, who uses it only for his own pleasure and not to serve others? God has given man shepherds to guide him and indicate the path, but these shepherds cannot of themselves alone gain such leadership and guidance unless inspired by the Spirit of God. Man must be guided according to his spiritual needs and not according to his worldly needs. Therefore, God has ordained a means whereby these shepherds may be found, and he has told them what to teach the people and in what manner to accord with their understanding and acceptance. The way is complex, as can be seen through these writings. All right, I think this is the last chapter, chapter 9, Shards of Wisdom. In the days when Lucius Chlorus was named King Cole, and lived at Carkelwyn, and a guy named Innis Vorwin, butchered that either way, served the good Queen Helena. Okay, so quickly, I told you guys that it appears that this was perhaps written just after the days of King Cole. This is the same King Cole of Old King Cole is a merry old soul, right, from Mother Goose. And his daughter, according to the British, was Queen Helena. Who is she? She is the queen who married Constantine, the Emperor Constantine. And from her to her husbands, Cambord, by whose hands these things were written. I'm sorry. That wasn't her husband. It was her son. I quoted that wrong. So let me quote that again. Queen Helena was I'm messing up tonight. The mother of Constantine. So Constantine, according to this, would be the grandson of King Cole through the matriarch. By whose hands these things were written came words of wisdom. There is that which is old and that which is new. But old and new are one in the eye of time. And so they're saying the bulk of this came from a writer who, so from her to her husband, Cambord. If I'm reading this right, they're saying that Queen Helena's husband wrote these things. Okay, so, and they're about 300 years after Joseph of Arimathea. Therefore, that which is first might be that which was written last. For now, among the pieces, none knows which should be where. So they're telling you that all this book of Britain was in these different fragments, and we've seen them in fragments, and they were kind of pieced together, and they don't know in what order it should totally go in. In truth, none knows when these things were written, but what has just been said was found as a broken piece, and where else could it be fit? Or where else could it be? Of the Druids, it is said that Per Caradwyn, the cauldron of higher love, represented to them the womb, and that the fire with which it was associated was the life force. It is said that the representation was in more than one form, but what this means, none now know. To become a Druid required immersion in a bath with a deduction from the cauldron. After immersion for a prescribed time, the residue from the bath infused with the man's evil was poured into a pit. His spirit was thus cleansed and renewed, but henceforth any wrongdoing would have a twofold effect. A band of troubadours, being people who held some secret of life, came to Britain in the days when England was Saxonized. They had a secret book said to explain all the mysteries of life, but the book itself explained little. Yet they who followed the secret book became the wisest among men. Written words, when read without thought, are valueless, and this is how most men read. Troubadours have a secret place in the Ogmosian hills. Emmer said the people are entitled to the consideration and care of the rulers who direct their days. Men are entitled to the peace of the plow unless their lands and families are under threats. No man who is a man slumbers under threats, and the reward of the warrior is tranquility in old age. So basically saying, look, if your homeland is under threat, pick up a weapon and fight. Don't just, fall asleep. The foolish man who sacrifices his peace of mind and happiness to seek wealth is like a man who sells his home to buy furniture. If there is anything more powerful than fate, it is the courage that bears whatever fate decrees unshaken. The dispensations of life favor the courageous man. Within the wider world, responsible procreation and selectivity play a spiritualizing role, while on another level, they preserve the diverse racial and cultural heritages. Racial pride is a positive quality which has nothing to do with racial prejudice. You get that? So it doesn't mean you're a racist if you have, if you're trying to secure your race. It doesn't mean you have to eliminate your race so you're not a racist. Like, that's the stupidest thing you can do, right? Pride without prejudice should be the watchword. Thus it is written, they who inherit and inhabit the kingdom in which irresponsible procreation is condoned prepare for themselves the path of degeneration. And this is what we're seeing with globalization, right? You guys see this out there. I mean, where they're just mixing up all different people groups, and they're pushing them, and they're killing heritage, and they're actually, this is the way that they collapse society. It's one of the ways where they can kind of create this new world order that they want to do by killing national heritage. They do not hold human sexuality sacred, enshrining it in the family and placing it in the guardianship of women. They do not honor the mistress of the house as the vigilant guardian of their racial heritage. The worship of ancestors sprang naturally from the pride and reverence in which people held their forebears. It indicated their gratitude and understanding for the sacrifices the ancestors made in being selective and responsible. When the selection of a marriage mate can be left to the sense of responsibility in the couple primarily concerned, then civilization has taken a big step forward. But who is wise enough to determine when this wisdom is present and expressed? Where are those prepared to uphold responsible breeding habits? And he's basically saying here is that, like, most people are, not, have a very difficult time choosing the right spouse. As found written, these are the accomplishments of a lady. She should learn the following: cutting, sewing, and making garments, the arraying of garments and adornment of the body, the toilets of the hair. Those are two great words put together, toilet of the hair, and the arts of hair braiding, the arts of motherhood, housewifery and cooking, the preservation of fruits, meats, and herbs, the growing of flowers and herbs, the stinging of necklaces and the making of ornaments, the making of pottery and the preparation of perfumes and ointments, singing if she have a sweet voice and melodious speech, writing and drawing with paints. Those for all you artists out there, you lady artists. The art of archery with the little bow and small swordsmanship. So there you go, ladies. You can learn the art of archery and swordsmanship, but make sure it's a small swordsmanship, not those big old whatever, those huge Scottish swords, those Highlander swords. The knowledge of jewels, the making of lace and knitting of wool and weaving, the use of herbs and simple and small leechcraft. So you ladies, you can hide a sword, a little knife there in your dress, and surprise the men when they try to come on you. Her teacher in the ways of life should be her mother's sister, should she be married, or a sister who is married, or a female friend of her mother who is of long standing and in good grace with her mother, or a female tutor or female nurse who is attached to the family. I think this is, I don't know why they're making such an emphasis on not the mother. I find this a little confusing, but certainly whoever this teacher is, it should be another woman teaching the young lady, and of high reputation in the family, right? High reputation amongst the mother, her sister, her good friends, so on and so forth. Concerning women, there are pretty maids and maids, both of these categories being virgin, unmarried matrons, wives, widows, cast out women, women of no repute, and harlots. A woman living as married but not actually married is not inviolate, nor is an unmarried matron. Those may be sought for pleasure. I told you there'd be a verse in here that's going to spin some heads. An unmarried matron, having been enjoyed by others, is available for a man's pleasure. What they're saying here is that according to this, there are some women who are allowed to be set aside for those purposes. So we can discuss this afterwards if you guys would like. And if you don't want to discuss it, that's fine. We don't have to. These women are not to be touched in lust. A mad woman, so keep away from the mad women. A woman with running sores, so she's unclean. A woman with child and a wife. No child should be touched in lust. A man shall not display his nakedness before his daughter, nor a mother before her son. I mean, that's straight out of Torah right there. After the days of Imris, it was written, never give up. Where there is a will, there is a way. While there is life, there is hope. Never leave your friend in the lurch, but support him with might and main. Do not be half-hearted or run with the hare or chase with the hounds. There it is again, running with the hare, you know? It's like a spiritual connection there. Those are things said in our days. These are the qualities and attributes of trees. This is where, I just love this weird stuff right here. So these are the qualities and attributes of trees, as revealed by the ancient lore of our fathers. The usage whereof is known to the wise. The providing apple, the winsome cherry, the soporific ivy, the comforting elderberry, the holy oak, the sorrowful willow, the compassionate ash, the protective yew, the happy birch, the companionable holly, the lively hawthorn, the mystic hazel, the sedate pine, the wish-granting sallow, the healing heather, the age-consoling alder, the youth-giving way withy, the generous broom, the helpful firs, the spirit-strengthening beech, the soothing windrake, the laughing aspen, the gentle juniper, the reliable wayfaring bean, the cunning hornbeam, the flight gadberry, the ominous dogwood, the jumping buckthorn, the light-hearted maple, the direful slaythorn, the angry parbeam, the willful cartack bush, the haunted banbeam, and the frightened witchbeam. They who are at one with the trees understand the nature of the life within them and make much of such things. There is a mystery here to be worked by those with understanding, but to others it will be meaningless. So what they're basically saying here is that there is something deeper going on spiritually with these trees. Some people get it. Very few people get it. They make much of it, but if you don't get it, it's not worth explaining to you because you're not going to care anyways. It's going to be meaningless to you. So basically, it's like if you want to seek these mysteries out, seek them out. These are the useful herbs to be found in field, forest, and wayside in the days gone by. Wolfbane, which guards against wolves and dogs. Barrowweed, which grows only near the dead. Harwort, witchweed, there's Tinkerbell for you. Wayweed, skullcap, feather flowers, which cure the stone. Blackberry, sundew, deadly dick. Sounds like a nickname for Richard Nixon. Celandine, which cures the piles. Windweed, moonflower, which works a spell. Witch head, called black spear. Asproot, drud balm, which brings sleep. Witchbane, which is put above the door. Hallflowers, ellenberry, wimberry, draught sweets, elf eye, fairy fern, witch whispers. There's a lot of witches in these plants here. Quicken bush, sour seed, which purges. Barred berry for lovers. There you go. For lovers, there's some barred berry for you. Amaranth, it never fades. Windflower, ghoul flower, wegrig, bladder bud, which heals all wounds. A lavin shade, lagon leaf. So where can I get some flower bud at my local corner store? It heals all wounds. Hoken mill, rillweed, boonberry, hather's weed, which women use. Women only use hather's weed, or that could be hather's weed. I'm not sure. Esses lip, fuller's wart, withering weed, which makes blue dye. Canweed, which quiets the heart. Mace lip, Kodo creeper, slanless, sood, which cures men of madness. Mothin. I wonder if a sood, if it cures men of madness, if that like kills parasites. Mothin, which only grows on cliffs. Arclacine, daft blouder, which cures stomach sickness. Malbrig, mazebill, which heals the stomach. Morboweed, or morboweed, which soothes burns. Cellarweed, which gives visions. Whoa, there's some weed for you. It gives visions. Tyanweed, which heals the skin. King cop, which makes a brew. Cowslip, way broad. Satyrion, which overcomes impotency. For all the aging knights out there, you want some Satyrion. Dwale, corn cockles, which men call tares. Docum dick, which gives men virility and only grows under the shiver tree. So some of you men might want to consider the docum dick. These things serve well, but some are lost to the knowledge of men. Bummer. Sounds like there's a lot of knowledge there. I don't think we have any of that. That might have. If some of you might be able to tell me afterwards, like, hey, yeah, I know exactly what that is. I'm having fun reading this, but I don't get all that in that paragraph right there. So, okay, let me start again. These things serve well, but some are lost to the knowledge of men. Herb beer made of yarrow and river sweet soothes the spirits of men. Red clover cures the small cancer. If the suffering one be a man of self-control. Okay, that one is kind of interesting. The herb called mothin is drunk with milk at childbirth. Sickness is first a malady of the mind. 100% true. Sickness is first a malady of the mind. Okay, wow, that's the end of the book right there. So that was good. I hope you guys enjoyed that. And rather than discussing it, I want to go straight into, get a little bit better light here, go straight into the Book of Wisdom. I am going to, I already dropped this in here for you guys starting out, but here it is again, Book of Wisdom. And let's get right into it. I love Book of Wisdom. Like, however fun and incredible Book of Britain was to discover and read, this one is just going to blow your guys' mind. I mean, when it says Book of Wisdom, it doesn't disappoint. Like, this is a book of wisdom. It's not a book of semi-wisdom or little wisdom or maybe wisdom or let's discuss it wisdom. Like, this is some seriously wise, or not wise guy wisdom either, not wisecracks. This is like the book of wisdom.